Hello, thank you for joining in on my 365-day note writing adventure. Welcome, my name is Anna Delman. I'm on day number 336 of ongoing daily note writing, and it is Sunday. Therefore, I spend the discussion time wrapping up what I have covered during the week, always just to solidify it, to address things in my own heart, and through that encouraging others to continue personal examination in their own lives. And so my note for today is how to guard your mind, wrapping up a week of planning, growth, living, and disappointment. Basically, we need to sweep it all clean. We need to sweep clean those things that are weighing us down, dragging us down, and disappointments do that. Particularly when you've been focusing on growth, planning growth, and living out the objectives for your life. Adversity will come to you. The Lord is testing you, and that's how disappointments, irrespective of where they come, people, places, and things, PPT, irrespective of where those disappointments come, in what form they come, I needed to take a look at how my week closed and address it as just a distraction, which was unnecessary for me, because the week had presented good opportunity for me to consider the daily note writing and the benefit it had for me. I did stress during the week that although it got to the point where I had 30 days left, it surprised me how much I had achieved, but yet how much remained undone, unfinished, unchallenged in my own life. It was thereafter that, surprisingly, however, now that I look back, it had been a suspicion of mine, a situation that then proved that my suspicions had been correct. So let's take a look at what my note says. As I mentioned to you, how to guard your mind, wrapping up a week of planning, growth, and living out disappointments. So on day 330, what to do with our apathy and indifference to real action. Our lack of caring, or the appearance of it, is not acquired strength. It can be defeat, or it could be a medical issue, or medical tiredness, meaning medical tiredness, more, I think, medication tiredness. Some medications do leave you exhausted. Some medications can put you in a place of depression. Some medical issues can put you in a place of such deep woe, life is undone, that you are in a position of apathy. We need to understand that before we come down hard on ourselves, or before we are critical of others going through struggles and they're not moving along as we want them to. We need also at the same time to be warned of a lukewarm faith. When you know what you're supposed to do and you don't, that then is your sin. If you have weighed up all those medical issues, the medicinal struggles that you have, if it leaves you in a melancholy state of mind, if you've considered all of that, but yet you still cannot move forward, you need to take another look. You can say these medications are horrible and I don't want to take them because they leave me in such a funky mindset and they leave me in a brain fog. That's one way to look at it. But as I have encouraged others who take horrible medications, how about changing your mindset and looking at the horrible stuff you need to take and say, as horrible as this is, I'm grateful to my God for providing it for me, because through this horrible stuff I'm taking, there is a hope for tomorrow. And I'm able to function in a way that were it not for the side effects of these medications, I wouldn't be able to live a pain-free life or to live a functioning life. I wouldn't be able to get up and go to the bathroom by myself. Friends, we always need to look at the other side of what is going on when we have those moments of apathy, and they're because of a medical issue or because of medicines. What is the other reality for us? So we need to change. Rather than complain about how horrible they are, rather be grateful that you're able to function because of them. Sure, you're forgetful, but sometimes it's good to forget the bad things in life, and it's good to forget those things which are not important. If you are still with those medications able to function in a way that is honoring of the life given you, then it needs to be considered with gratitude. That's just not what I all covered on that day, but that is as I'm thinking of the week and wanting to wrap it up with what I touched on each day, particularly as I ended the week yesterday, Saturday, with disappointment. Day number 331. Let's consider indifference and the effect it has on our mindset. It's a lack of interest, lack of progressing, lack of change, and indifference will control you. I did explain the different kinds of indifferences, that to have an indifferent mindset to certain struggles does not mean we are not empathetic with other people. It means that sometimes we can in some way divide that out of our lives so that we can have involvement in very tragic and suffering experiences of others. However, when we are indifferent to the suffering of others in those situations, that we don't care and we're not even willing to try and reach out, that becomes problematic. As always, in each day that I'm covering, glossing over, there is more that I discussed on those days, although in hindsight what I'm sharing now, the two together does strengthen what I was trying to cover for that day. Day number 332, let's get busy with growing. What should it look like? Know the areas you want to change. Understand, plan, and it requires discomfort. When you're working towards change, there are going to be some things that are hard and difficult for you to do. However, we do need with confidence to move forward and overcome those, because as you take those baby steps, which would lead to leaps and bounds, we are overcoming moment by moment by moment and stepping into what we're trying to build and overcome. Day number 333, investing in yourself is not a selfish idea when me first addresses the soul. Me first, me. My soul is important to God. He went to the cross. Christ went to the cross for me, that I would come to know him. And on the cross, he suffered for me. He was buried and resurrected for me, so that I could be reborn and put my faith and trust in him. He carries my burdens. Friends, that's when you've got to think of yourself. Now, I did stress on that day as I was discussing that, when you need to carve out me time, self-time, focus time, you cannot ignore your functioning responsibilities and those responsibilities given you enough. If you're neglecting your children, your family, your work life, then that is not what God is calling you to. It means carve out time for him. When you are confronted with all these things during your day, make sure you have the heart responses that you've thought through in your alone time with him, cultivated them, changed in your heart, in your life, that you may then contribute positively and feed and talk into all those experiences. That's what it means by being self-focused. It really is being others-focused, but you prime your inner being. You prime the way you need to know how to respond biblically to those situations. Day number 334, planning, growing to living out your accomplished objectives needs moments to contemplate. This is when self-focus is essential. Introspection must be for building and not despair. When we take time alone to think through life and what we want to accomplish, sometimes we allow those negative things that have hindered us in the past to creep in. And as I was chatting with my dear friend Amanda this morning, and I was telling her my best enemy is me. I'm my best enemy because I can speak myself out of something real quick. I can take something that has occurred and make sure that I bring everything in my history, my background, every horrible thing that's happened to me through the hands of others, the mouths of others, and I can say, well. So when we need to contemplate and take the time to think through life, friends, you've got to just cut out those negative thoughts. And that is why it's so good to understand the Word of God. We need to put off those negatives and put on the positives so that we can function. As I just said a moment ago, in being self-focused is really being others-focused. When we're taking the time to evaluate, consider, contemplate, we are preparing ourselves for involvement beyond our own circumstances, and that's a good thing. It's lovely to be involved in others and building community with others so that they can be nurtured, cared for, and know the kindness of grace in their life. Think deeply and carefully about today. What brought you here? But what about tomorrow? What will take you there? Consider the possibilities of a renewed mind, feeding and building into a new you. Romans 12:2. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Take life seriously. Take living seriously. Have compassion and mercy for your yesterdays. If you messed up greatly yesterday, the history of your life, you didn't know what you knew about life today. I was also when I was chatting with my friend Amanda today, I said, when I get into a negative mindset, particularly referring to the disappointments of yesterday, and I brought and rushed everything in to wallow in essence, I said to her, yesterday I challenged myself, if only in the early 90s I had taken this action, which was a strong possibility for me to have taken, I wouldn't be in the predicament today. However, in the same breath, I said to her, I'm glad I didn't take that path, because in that situation I can foresee the other things that would have been very negative brought to the situation had I moved ahead with it. So in hindsight, when we have those moments of challenging ourselves and questioning ourselves, we need to be grateful for the boundaries that were put in place for us. We maybe didn't understand them, and we still today may not completely understand them, but they were there to guard us and lead us and move us ahead. So day 335, when working towards change, how to respond to disappointment, your own and others. Now, I spoke about this yesterday because I woke up to disappointment and it changed the trajectory of my day. I let it, but I'm glad I let it, because it caused me to step back and truly think deeply, as I said when I was talking with my friend about what I could have chosen to do differently in the 1990s, and it possibly could have prevented certain other things occurring. But that's just hypotheticals, friends. You don't know unless you took that path then. But from the limited information now in my maturity that I had then to possibly step into that, I'm glad I didn't. We need to guard our minds when we are confronted with such deep disappointments. And also, I did say, when we're responding to deep disappointments, we need to make sure we don't then step into disappointing ourselves about ourselves, that we become the disappointment, because the negative experiences in our heart then reveals truly who and what we are. Now, I did start out this discussion saying that we did need to guard our minds when wrapping up a week, because we needed to protect our minds from going down rabbit trails and thinking things that we shouldn't be thinking, and allowing those disappointments to become greater. We do need to guard our hearts and minds. When those disappointments which we see in others, and they are disappointments, our response was correct, we need to be careful, because disappointment in others then exposes something in ourselves. We possibly then may get angry, and when anger is not correctly understood or dealt with, anger can lead to bringing in other areas of our lives which we have maybe still to deal with, and understand completely, and the anger then builds and builds and builds. And unresolved anger, friends, always takes us down a down spiraling effect to depression, and you don't want to go there. So when you are disappointed, friends, as I shared yesterday, we need to be careful. Take the lug out of our own eye before we try and remove the splinter in another, because that log will weigh us down and take us down to the bottom of the ocean of our emotions, and you don't want to go there. You don't want to struggle with more than what you have to. So yesterday I did read Lamentations chapter 3, and please go there. I will rush through it quickly. Here, the steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. The Lord is my portion, says my soul. Therefore I will hope in him. The Lord is good to those who wait for him, to the soul who seeks him. It is good that one should wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord. And I did explain all of that yesterday. For him to strengthen us spiritually, the salvation of our souls, the salvation of through our maturity, our sanctification, or the salvation of us removing from a difficult experience. Friends, sometimes I think, although I'd love to have a geographical change, I sometimes think and know that the inner transformation, the inner salvation, the inner strengthening is what he really wants from me. And irrespective of where I am, that will always stand me in good stead. I hope that's an encouragement to you, and I will be back again tomorrow morning for some more encouragement. Until then, take care and God bless. Bye-bye for now.